Hello everyone, my name is Shekhar Tiwari. In the supply chain domain for almost 3 decades, practically end-to-end exposure. Worked with Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, Accenture, and now with Deloitte as a partner for consulting and operate. When CII and thank you so much, Venkatesh, for the opportunity. But when they approached saying that let's talk about what's happening in the supply chain world and what you would like to talk to the supply chain learners or students, right? One thing which was coming to my mind is that the one very active topic which we are listening from the clients today is how do we deal with resiliency and how do we make our supply chain sustainable. And I think those are great conversations, right? Practically in every forum when you're talking to CXOs or CFOs, CEOs and let's say promoters, everybody wants to focus on this. Resiliency, I think, is a no-brainer. Post-pandemic, with some other disruptions, let's say something which happened in Panama Canal or sometime in that Chinese route which got impacted. I think the resiliency is very well understood. And then comes the sustainability. And I think they're still at the nascent stage. Some of the companies have taken the leap of faith. They have made very, very strong progress. And I think I'll talk about some of the examples which are available in the public domain. I'll take the liberty of using and quoting them, right? But I think the most important thing is where I would like to start is, I'll start with the trend and the one thing which has changed significantly. And I have some numbers here for us. Digital adoption, right? 94% plus millennials are smartphone users, and 37% of them, or let's say in around 40, they are wearing something on the sleeves, right? So smart wearables, that's consumption has gone up. Average time up to 8 hours, right, in 2021 against 6.8 of 2019. If you look at, let's say, the data which is available from US, 43% have bought something or others. They've used a buy now pay later kind of a service, which is up from 30%, right? So a significant jump in less than 1 year. Obviously, pandemic has helped that transition move further. 32% Americans are buying through e-commerce. India, I'm 158% sure the number would be higher than 32%. I was trying to look for that data. I unfortunately couldn't get it. And right, the influencers, the 61% kind of users on social media, influencers talking about their products and influencing the decisions. And by the way, just going through the top 10 advertisers in the country, right? Some of the very famous names like Bollywood and cricket stars. But guess what? Surprise, surprise. 3 of them were influencer in top 10, and that has happened for the first time, and that shows that how much potential is there. Also mentioning the fact because my daughter also does that, and it's a kind of very comforting for a dad to know that there's some decent money in that line. And obviously, you want to call it influence or you want to call it nuisance. I'll leave that to you. Top it up with the 3 or 4 very visible trends. Falling birth rate across, aging population, not so much of a problem in India. We still have a very, very young population, but for the rest of the world, I think that's one area which definitely impacting. The obesity, right? Maybe very high in North America side of the world, maybe Europe and that side too. Not so much in India, but again, a very, very a factor which you will have to consider while making certain decisions. And finally, the impact of diversity, right? In the developing world, the wealth is getting distributed slightly more equally. Maybe in some of the areas consolidation is happening, but the purchasing power is going up, and thus by the entire purchasing pattern, the spending pattern, right, is changing, and no company, no organization can afford to ignore that. And that brings to my kind of next page. What are the strategic choices you'll have to do? And I took the liberty of dividing it into 5 portions. First, obviously, market maturity. If that will decide your portfolio, routes to market, and customer service, right? Value-added customer service. If the customer service is good, is definitely helping the product to be differentiated, and I think helping the organization to kind of command a premium. By the way, just on a different note, I was sitting with some of the experts, and I said that, like it or not, in less than 6 years or so, or maybe 6 to 10 years of time, all the function would be working only for one person, one function. That is the customer satisfaction, or customer service, whichever way you want to term it. But most of the things are going to be derived out of that place, right? Product, innovation and design. What kind of premium you can command? Apple, I believe, is one of the best example. Sourcing, quality, reverse logistics, and that is the aftermarket side of it, right? Is what again is going to be important. Sales channels, I think we don't have to talk about it. We touched that briefly on the trend side of it, which is how you're going to do warehousing, how you're going to make your hubs in the city, spokes in the city, and how you're going to kind of service them. Last mile fulfillment, gig workers, how you are kind of utilizing them at the same time taking care of their well-being, and do that side of the business much more responsibly than maybe in some of the areas which is happening today. Direct to consumers, future is that if 40 to 50% or 30 to 40% is already moved into that side, you cannot afford to ignore it, and thus why very, very important that you kind of consider that into your strategy, and will impact your strategy. Distribution, you're going to have it in-house, you're going to outsource, you're going to do a third-party thing, or how do you deal with that, right? So those topics, right, those factors, not topics, factors will impact your strategic decisions, and a very, very vast topic in itself. So let's say if anyone is keen, more than happy, available. I've given my contact details in the opening page, and please feel free to contact. And that's where it can kind of brings me to the next page. And this for all the supply chain folks, this will look like a bit more traditional. This is something which they have seen, let's say, throughout their life. And I want to take a pause here and talk about, right, supply chain is the nerve center and is becoming even more sensitive with the kind of problems they've had in 3 years. The trends which I talked about, the strategic choices which you'll make. Supply chain will have to make sure that is incorporating all that, driving it through the organization internally as well as externally. Externally is your third party, your vendors, your stakeholders, your factories, your distributors, your reverse logistics. Everything is going to be so. What's most important? The first thing is that it needs to be stable and then transform, and apply 3 parameters: people, process, technology. Right? Processes needs to be flexible, should be able to respond to multiple situations. At the same time, not making exception as the rule. Right? Use of SNOP tools like Anaplan, the entire chain becoming visible, using the automation tool, or let's say intervening only basis exceptions. I think that's the way to go. Also frees up the time for the supply chain analyst or the operator to spend, that what's actually happening behind the scene, rather than just, trying to complete the transaction, right? So if you have applied the 3 parameters, the 3 filters: people, the talent, process, the entire end-to-end processes, and then the technology, right? Because of which let's say you're either the shipment or the product or the production scheduling, everything is visible. If possible, on a let's say hand phone, mobile phone, and maybe connectivity, or let's say applicability to link up with some of the secured messengers, right? And that would be a good thing. Look at the product side of it, right? Obviously, the age group will define the age group, and the consumption is going to impact your demand certainty. Obviously, we're seeing it like multiple launches, which means the product life is becoming shorter and shorter, right? As the customer behavior changes, right? Since you have much more younger and diverse consumers, they are much more aware and updated. Your sustainability angle, right, becomes very, very important, and that's the first thing which is driving. There's the main thing which is driving the entire behavior of this entire industry. Obviously, all the folks who are sitting at the senior level understand the importance of saving the planet Earth, and obviously you can't get another planet Earth. So everybody is trying their level best to make it happen. But this is also one of the biggest folks. Competition, which corner it is coming, known competition, unknown competition, cannibalizing the market. Are you cannibalizing your own products or your own market? All those things, right? Rethink, reinvent is the essential part of it. Keep changing what's going to work. Suppliers. I have used the word suppliers, but I want you to start thinking at them as business partners. They're under tremendous pressure. Cost, quality, the resiliency is the key. Your transparency in terms of sharing the demand, sharing the orders, sharing the payment schedules, and things like that. It'll make them much more, let's say, prepared to deal with anything, and also, their confidence in you will go up. Last but not the least, regulations. We know that business is now global, right? And not only global because you're selling globally, right? You're sourcing it from, let's say, one country, getting it converted into second country or in some different states, moving it to your factory, producing the final product maybe, and then distributing it again across, right? So, law of the land, your own policy compliance, and then global rules and regulation. What you can do some places cannot do somewhere else, right? You talk to anybody on the procurement side, the finance side, your supply chain manufacturing side, your CEOs, right? They're only worried about one thing. From which angle, what kind of attack is going to make them vulnerable in terms of their IT security systems and the compliance. And it's an essential and integral part. The cost becomes secondary because the compliance needs to be the first one, right? So these are the factors. If you are addressing it through your proper talent strategy, if you are the processes are there to take care of it, and the technology is making it visible and supporting the decision making, I will say the supply chain is stable. Are you in the top 20 in your area, in your industry? I think you're close to the transformer. It's a continuous process, not going to be stopping. And once you've achieved that, then I think I'll take the liberty of moving to the next slide, which is how do you go for the green supply chain side of it, right? Which is nothing else but sustainable. And I think in every area, procurement, manufacturing, distribution, delivery, returns, right? You will have to have it comprehensive. Talk about procurement, supply needs to understand your sustainable strategy. What is it? How I'm going to do it, right? And let me go there. You'll have to assess the situation practically in all the 5 areas, which is what I spoke about it, right? And then firstly assess where are you, design what is the right design for my current state basis the assessment and how I'm going to take it forward, right? Build and configure. I think both the processes and technology is going to play a huge role here, and you need to be you should be able to make it. You should be able to implement it at the same time, make it pretty much visible. Deploy. Obviously, run and track and see. Start running and track. What is the adoptability, right? Once you have deployed it, is it going up? It's getting adopted by the organization, or you're getting stuck. Now, I think very, very important that I'll talk about some of the things which are happening in this area, because that will give you the confidence, or that will give us the confidence that yes, companies have taken initiative, organizations have made some solid progress in this. The first one comes to my mind is very easy and simple. Apple chargers, right? They took away. At that point in time, everybody thought another way to make money, but I think it's proven that how much reduction, both in terms of the correct boxes or the size of the boxes, and then the charger. And everybody has chargers. It's not that you don't. You've kind of you've got stuck. I think it's working pretty fine. I spent my significant chunk of my professional life with PepsiCo. The cases, the water per case, what used to be in, let's say, 2010 or let's say 1995 to 2010 kind of window versus where it is now, they're practically touching net zero. Great story. Nike, Adidas, recycling the shoes. I mean, I never thought it's possible. It's happening. I'm sure you would have heard about the startup of Pool, all the thing which you are jitne bhi fool while doing the prayers and worshipping, you're using at home. They are recycling it and they are making the sticks, right? Agarbattis and those things, right? Unilever, a great success story, right? They said that the entire 100% of agricultural raw material by 2020 set a goal to source 100% of its agricultural raw material by 2020. To achieve this, they have focused on a set of essential commodities of crops, and they have termed it priority. The initiative has worked very well. When they have reported in 2019, it was to the tune of 88%, which to my mind is a huge success, right? You talk about Honda, and I'll encourage you to go into their website, look for their green path, right? You will see some great success story there. Walmart Sustainability 360, I think you'll have some great material and the successes to read about. And I'm in the interest of time, I'm kind of skipping it. Once I've, let's say, spoken about the need, the concept, how it can be done, the goals, the goals and the advantages, what they have achieved. I think you can see that. Ford is another success story, and then I want to quickly take some time for FedEx, right? They have 329 hybrid delivery truck in its fleet. That's the last information which we had. Continuously talking about how can they reuse and recycle, and also is replacing 727 with 757, which is going to be going to cut down the consumption by 47%. So I think, all in all, multiple stories. More than happy if I can take some time with each one of you or anyone who is interested. And there are multiple things: H&M, Starbucks, Dell and HP, Pepsi and Coke. I kind of spoke about SC Johnson, right? Multiple organizations tracking and monitoring their carbon usage, their carbon footprint, publishing it for their employees. I think sustainability is going to be a focus area for everyone. Across the segment of industries, across the business process owners. So, request would be that take a step, assess your supply chain, assess where exactly you are and how do you want to take it forward. Talk about it, finalize the plan, publish it, start implementing, and then run and track it and see how it goes. I think we have a future ahead of us which is pretty much green. A progress in every direction by each and every one of us will take us towards this, and I think that will be a great success to celebrate. Once again, thank you, Venkatesh and CII for the opportunity. I hope it makes sense, and I'm looking forward towards your feedback on my credentials, which you can see on the slide again. Thank you very much.